Damn, having a job sure would make it easier to buy groceries. I knew I shouldn't have used my whole entire stimulus check on stock in JCPenney. Oh wait, I think I might have a 20. Damn it, I forgot. I used that $20 to pre-order 4 months of NBC's The Peacock streaming service. I guess you'll have to do. Shit, this stove never works. I refuse to eat any more microwaved eggs. I am calling the maintenance man right now.
Sam here.
Yes, this is apartment 5A. My stove is broken, and I need it fixed immediately.
I'll tell you, pal, I got a lot of stoves. I got a lot of stoves to fix today, so.
How many stoves are breaking down? Look, this is an emergency. I'm starving. Can you get over here? Hey, what's so funny?
Oh no, sorry. I'm watching John Henry.
You are?
You know, the movie with Denzel Washington.
What?
The movie directed by C.W. Rogers.
Oh no, sorry. I haven't seen that movie since like middle school. I thought you were talking about a different movie. But anyways, could you hurry up? Like I said, I'm very hungry and I need my stove fixed.
Yeah, I got you. You want to cook your egg? All right, I got it. Don't worry, I'm on top of it. Bye.
Okay, hello? That's weird. How did he know I was trying to cook an egg? Steve, what are you doing here?
That's right, Rob. From the company, from our interview the other day, well, I have good news. I spoke to corporate, and they have decided to move forward with the next round of interviews. And the only way to do that is through a person-to-person interview. So, may I come in?
This is kind of a bad time. I mean, my maintenance guy's probably going to be here any second, but, as long as we make it quick and, stay 6 feet apart, and I'm probably going to have to sanitize you.
That looks like pepper spray to me. Is it pepper spray?
I don't think so. You know, I've been using this stuff on my hand for weeks, and the only weird thing it does is give me excruciating pain when I touch my face. So I'm just gonna have to...
Look, why don't I just come in and wash my hands?
Yeah, sure, come on in.
Find a towel. Now, let's begin, shall we? Oh, and thanks for moving all the furniture around. It's got a real AA vibe. I know that quite well. First question, have you seen any movies?
Oh, right, this is the part of the interview where we talk about movies. I have.
And?
Yeah, I saw that new movie, John Henry, on Netflix. Oh yeah, off topic, do you happen to have any food?
As a matter of fact...
Is that beef jerky?
Actually, it's veal jerky. The lamb is marinated for 12 days. If you're good, I'll give you some at the end of the interview. Oh, so good. Can really taste the baby lamb.
Okay. I just saw this new movie. It stars Terry Crews and Ludacris. It's called John Henry, and it's a story about these.
Wait.
What?
Huh? The Thing.
Oh. John Henry is the new adaptation film by first-time director Will Forbes. It's a take on the classic Folklore about the steel-driving man John Henry, who races a steam-powered rock drilling machine and wins. This movie captures that classic tale with Terry Crews and Ludacris. They have Terry Crews hold a hammer sometimes, and Ludacris is a crime lord, I guess, who has a metal jaw. You know, just like in the Folklore. Perhaps the only thing John Henry about this movie is that it's called John Henry. Seriously, what is that? Welcome to another episode of... What is the show called? Welcome to another episode of Go Before the Show. I'm Robert.
And I'm Steve.
And today we're going to be talking about a movie called John Henry.
I'm John Henry.
But before we do, I figured, why don't we just take the edge off a little bit?
Oh, works for me.
All right. Don't get too wasted over there.
Oh, I think I'll be okay. Thank you very much. Say, Rob, what do you... Oh, first, cheers to John Henry.
John Henry.
So, before we get too deep into the movie, Rob, what do you know about the John Henry folklore?
He is it's a myth about a man who fought against a machine. That man can beat machine, and the idea was that he could hammer his way through a tunnel. Stop me if I'm wrong.
Well, he's making a tunnel.
He's making a tunnel.
Hammering through like rock in a mountain to beat a steam-powered drill. And he wins, but sadly, his heart gave out in the end. But still, man won, at least in that story. But in the real world, I'd say the machines are winning.
You know, there's been a lot of John Henry movies made in the past.
Oh,
and
don't forget Shaq, who played Steel. John Henry Irons was his name in that movie.
And he had a hammer.
It's hammer time.
What a magnetic personality.
That's right.
That's
Steel
right.
was based on the John Henry mythos.
When are we going to get a Steel 2?
Steel. Probably never. You know, I was really hoping that Shaq was going to voice Steel in the Death of Superman animated movie, but sadly they went with someone else.
I didn't know Steel was in the Death of Superman animated movie. I
Man,
didn't know
you don't
there
know
was
any.
one.
You don't know anything about comic books, do you?
Are you trying to bully me into not knowing anything about comic books?
I mean,
what bizarro world, which is a Superman reference, are we living in?
Very okay. Well, since you made a reference to Bizarro, then we're good. Now, yeah, we're here to talk about John Henry.
John Henry.
2020 movie starring Terry Crews.
What?
And my favorite actor, Ludacris.
Why, that in itself is a ludicrous statement.
Oh. You know what, I
What, were
figured...
you sincere?
What?
I feel like this set isn't just right yet. Why don't I just pop a little decoration? 1 second.
This better be the right kind of decor, because this is all going into your...
Is this working?
Thank God for the power of editing. Whoa!
Whoa!
What a sweet graphic.
Thanks. You know, having a blank TV screen in the background is
Yeah, a little boring.
a little boring. Okay, well, I guess I'll just ask, what did you think of John Henry?
I was highly disappointed.
What?
Like, the reason why I suggested this movie to you, or that we somehow randomly speak about it, during a job interview, of course, but is the fact that everyone was talking about it on social media. Like, people were talking about what a terrible movie it was. And then they specifically mentioned the fact that Ludacris had a metal jaw in it. And I was like, that sounds like the kind of bad that I want to watch and then talk about. The problem is that it severely lacks in the camp department, but it takes itself way too seriously, and I found myself quite bored through the first and second act.
You know why I named you John Henry? When you was born, I said, I have a son!
How about yourself, Rob?
Well, I am conflicted because I was really liking the movie when I first started watching it. I was into, the movie opens with kind of gang members. I loved their conversation. It felt so organic, and it was funny. It was genuinely funny. They have it set up where there's these three girls sitting in the background, and you're not really sure why they're there. At first I thought, are they just like drugged out,
right,
people, maybe they're having a great time just sitting on that couch being, La La Land. I felt like, kind of like you said, I felt like the movie didn't know if it wanted to stay in the real world or be in the fantasy world, because we started very real and slowly started getting into bizarro world, if you will.
This movie feels like it has a pretty low budget. It feels like something that you would stumble across on Amazon Prime, and I'm actually a big supporter of Amazon Prime. Amazon.
That's not going to get edited out, that's for sure.
Amazon Prime, because they'll take anything. Let's be honest. They'll take anything, and usually that equates to a very interesting, movie-going experience. If you stumble across someone's first film, which I looked up the director of this. This is his so far first and only film.
I noticed that too.
And it definitely feels like it, because I think where John Henry fails the most is in the pacing department.
Yeah, there was weird moments of almost like they should have cut sooner.
Oh yeah.
In a lot of parts, if it didn't really flow together. There was a lot of I understand sometimes you have to show like establishing stuff and show your environment, but there were so many establishing shots it almost felt like a music video at times, which, by the way, the director also did the music for it.
Yeah, I saw, and he helped write it too.
He helped write it as well.
Yeah, so he's to blame for all this.
Yeah.
I kind of liked some of the music and the cinematography. If I want to say anything positive about it,
The cinematography was really good.
somebody knew what they were doing. They must. I should have bothered to look at whoever the DP was, because he knew what he was doing with the small budget.
Touching upon like the cinematography, there was one shot in particular that I really liked where Berta was first running away from the shooting, and she hides under kind of the steps in front of John Henry's house, and when he opens the door, the light shines down through the steps, and
that was good.
There was a lot of interesting stuff like that, but but then things went way extreme, where all of a sudden we have Ludacris just sitting in a blue lit room.
See, I like that. See, that's what I wanted more of. Like, the majority of the film is
I thought
just,
it was so silly.
Well, it was silly, and that's what I wanted.
Instead,
I got a bore fest.
What else is new?
The opening with that shootout and that what was her name again?
Berta.
Hiding under the steps and showing up at John Henry's. I'm like, okay, I'm on board for this. This seems like it's going to be a pretty solid, maybe action movie. Low budget, gritty crime action movie. But then they spent the rest of the movie inside John Henry's house, just sort of talking about things. I mean,
constantly reminding us that his father finds John Henry strong.
My boy's strong.
and that's where they really fell short with the man himself, John Henry, is that they only said, they never showed. Like, right. I wanted to see him using his hammer. The opening scene should have been him using his hammer to hammer something.
I would have liked some kind of setup other than the movie being called John Henry, because there are times where he's using the hammer and I'm like, why are you using the hammer? Oh, because the movie's called John Henry.
I'm John Henry.
Yeah.
You have to use a hammer. You don't like guns because...
I'm John Henry.
You, spoilers!
Yeah.
Please, if you really don't want to get spoiled from the John Henry movie, skip it.
Mm-hmm.
skip this whole video. You know,
Alright.
you shouldn't even have pressed play in the first place, but
Yeah.
you're in it. You can't get out of it now. The movie itself opens with him having his dog get hit by a car.
Right, yeah, like...
And he goes out there, he's heartbroken. It's some kid who like gets in his face, pulls out a gun. You know, he's not really affected by it. I would have loved to see him take a hammer to that kid's car.
Yes.
But it felt like this movie didn't know who John Henry was. Was he the timid dude lurking in the shadows that you don't want to mess with? Is he the overly emotional guy who...
he's conflicted.
He's very conflicted.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like he was a little bit of everything, and which I think he was spread too thin.
For sure. Have you seen the Netflix show Nick Cage? No, it's not Nick Cage. God damn it.
Luke Cage.
That's it. God, is this stuff getting me drunk already? Okay, let me go again. Thank God for the power of editing. Have you seen the Netflix show Luke Cage?
No.
Did you ever watch Jessica Jones that had Luke Cage in it?
You know how big of a fan of Jessica Jones I am. And by that I mean I haven't watched any of it.
Luke Cage is what John Henry wants to be. Because he's a blaxploitation style like star. Are you familiar with 70s blaxploitation? The genre of film called 70s blaxploitation? Of course you don't know anything about it. Because you're just a white boy drinking White Claw in LA.
You're drinking White Claw too.
Yeah, but I still know what 70s blaxploitation is. It's movies like Shaft and Dolomite.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that White Claw is usually drunk by trashy white people?
Hey,
Because you're right.
What else is new?
That's the thing, like, I loved the first 2/3, but the last half hour just went weird. And not only it didn't seem like they knew who John Henry was, but and you know what the thing that annoyed me, did you finish your White Claw already?
Yeah. Did you have any more?
You white trash motherfucker. You are the...
Hey, you gave me that White Claw.
I didn't think you would be that trashy with it, though.
Oh, is there some sort of preset limit to which you're supposed to consume a White Claw?
Hey, look, I know you're from Florida.
Oh,
and
you're
everything.
from Florida too!
You don't know that.
Yes,
I
I
was
do.
born in New York.
I was born in Ontario, Canada.
That is pretty... You're in Canadian?
Don't tell anyone.
Especially the government. But anyways, the thing that annoyed me the most was this movie seemed to put Band-Aids on a lot of mistakes. John Henry's father is crippled from a stroke, or he had something happen to him where he's stuck in a wheelchair until he doesn't have to be anymore.
Right, of course.
Until
yeah.
the story needs him to stand up because according to him, adrenaline is what does that.
Look it up.
Before that even happens, Berta escapes from her like prostitution kidnapping ring,
whatever,
and finds herself at the steps of John Henry. He takes her in.
Yes.
Emilio ends up finding out that she's at John Henry's house and tells the story about what happened, that Berta and Emilio and her actual brother were walking down the streets of Hollywood, and Ludacris's gang kidnaps her, which, by the way, if I haven't mentioned already, Ludacris's name is Hell in this movie.
Hell.
Just Hell. Yeah,
Some creative work went into that name.
Hey, give me an evil name.
Hey,
what?
Devil Face.
No, something.
Hell.
Oh, that's great. Because his name is Helen, and Berta ends up getting kidnapped in the streets of Hollywood. Somehow, Emilio finds the exact house that she is kidnapped in. And
right.
Even John Henry says something, which I thought they were going to explain. John Henry says, "Oh, we just got lucky, I guess." And he said, "Well, not so. The reason why I knew the exact house that she would..." Ugh, man. Trying to talk about a prostitute getting rescued and this hard salsa. It's a seltzer or salsa. Doesn't matter.
Seltzer? Who says seltzer? Someone from Boston, maybe?
Who says club soda?
I've never uttered those two words together in my life.
And it ends up being that Emilio, who sells pills, says that him and someone else that would sell pills, that he would sell pills with, a lot of the traffic happens on this block. So let's check out this block, and just happen to be parked outside the exact house. It doesn't explain anything. So, and the thing is, like, she gets kidnapped in Hollywood, California. A lot of this movie takes place in Compton, Inglewood.
Right. Sure.
It's not like it's down the street. It's not down the street. I don't know why you would assume that exact block would be it. But whatever, we skim over that.
I mean, I give them credit for trying to explain it, because they could have skipped over it. Like, it's weird, because it seems like they're actually trying with this.
I mean, this was his first feature that I could see. I looked him up, and I only see this movie and
same here.
something else. I don't even remember, something really small.
I didn't even
So I don't know how, just from like a film business standpoint, I don't know how this guy got the budget for this film at all.
Well, what I would like to know is why Terry Crews got roped into it. Like, I assume...
Well, also I saw Terry Crews and Ludacris were executive producers on this too.
Right.
So it could be that they knew him.
We family, John. We got the same blood coursing through our veins.
Oh, Ludacris is friends with director whose names I can't remember at the
Will
moment.
Forte?
Will Forte. That's the guy from Saturday Night Live.
It was Will something.
Yeah, it was Will something.
Everything felt like we were in the real world, and then all of a sudden, near the end of the film, we transitioned to Ludacris sitting in a room just full of blue light with a golden jaw that looks like he's collecting infinity stones in it.
Right.
And it goes from, I don't know, it goes from like a serious drama to like a sci-fi so fast.
So, if the end had maybe been spun a different way, like if Ludacris didn't have a jaw filled with infinity stones, do you think you would have liked this movie more?
I don't know if like removing the jaw piece would have fixed the movie. There was just a lot of forced stuff, a lot of stuff that I wonder if the director was just thinking this would be cool if like the main drug dealer had a metal jaw, and there wasn't anything that alluded to him being some kind of icon with a metal. Like I would think that he would use his metal jaw as a symbol of sorts, and you know he was called Hell, and he burned people with his flamethrower, which when they showed shots of him younger, they didn't allude to anything of him maybe being a pyromaniac or anything. It was just all of a sudden just because there was a lot of just becauses.
When he was young, he shot the devil.
We end up getting into around the middle of the film when Hell gives John Henry a job, and that pays $50,000. And he uses the $50,000 and gives it all to Berta and Emilio to get the hell out of here. They have 24 hours, which sounds simple enough. You have $50,000, you get the hell out of town.
Sure.
Okay.
Get out of Dodge.
Yeah, we can buy a first-class ticket out of town. But they don't. There's a giant shootout in the house. This is the scene when John Henry's father can all of a sudden walk. Because of adrenaline, because the story needed him to walk. Which I would have been much happier with him rolling around in a wheelchair with a shotgun.
Yes,
that would have been cooler.
Cool. Sure. Or really, if he had like a cool wheelchair that had a bunch of little gadgets in it.
If we're going full Golden Jaw movie,
he's got a golden jaw, so why not? Well, this was gonna be my thing that I was gonna save to the end. That, you know, if they wanted to have a real modernized retelling of the John Henry, like, folklore, like, his jaw, like, he should have had, like, a mechanical arm.
Well, I have a whole pitch for how the end fight should have went.
Okay.
Which I'll get into later.
Right, we'll get to that later.
So, earlier, John Henry runs into an old flame that he knew in high school, college, something like that. And this woman, Tasha, and they grow a liking to each other, and then that's it, and then the scene ends. You think, okay, that was a
Well,
scene. Well, after the big shootout in the house, John Henry gets shot in the head, and I guess it just skimmed his head, which also caused him to pass out.
Yeah, and they leave him there. They don't even bother to check him. And then he wakes up the next day with just a little bit of blood on his nice shiny bald head, and who was there to help him but the old flame that he happened to run into.
And here's the thing about Tasha. I'm convinced, and which dives into how you want this to be a weird sci-fi. I think Tasha can just teleport. Because Tasha shows up fucking at random. Just random when the story needs her to. How she knows where anyone is, I don't know. After the shootout, everyone's gone because there's this saying of like, don't leave any bodies because, you know, if the family doesn't know where the body is, then they'll think that they're still out there possibly.
Sure, and it's also just cheaper and send everyone home instead of to pay them to lay
That's
there.
true. I don't think anyone wanted to stay longer than 6 hours. They're
Right,
like,
it was
I'm
6
done
hour
for the
shoot.
6 hour shoot.
Whoa.
I'm out of here.
In and out. Okay.
So when Terry Crews wakes up, he finds that the whole house is empty. I assume his dad's body's gone too. All bodies taken, right?
We never saw his dad again after that.
I don't know. John Henry wakes up and Tasha says something like, "Oh, I'm sorry I was late picking up the kids," which was never established, but whatever. Okay. That's fine. The problem is, John Henry knew that Tasha was supposed to be there at some point, preferably before the 23rd hour. You would think that, hey, where's Tasha at? Why does she have to pick up the kids?
Right.
Why can't he drive them to the airport? I don't know. But aside from that, she asks, where is everybody? Mm-hmm. And he says, and he says the saying of, you know, don't leave any bodies behind. Either she asks or he says, but basically they allude to like, well, why are you still here? Right. And he responds with, they wanted me to feel it. So we open into Ludacris's lair.
The Luda lair.
The Luda lair, which is this room with a blue light in it.
Of course.
And he just sits in it.
Smoking a cigar.
All day, I assume blinded by this blue light. And I don't know how any powerful drug dealer man can stand that. But in the scene, they're about to shoot one of the gang member girls. So they're about to shoot one of the gang member girls who was in the first scene in the movie. And
because she failed?
She failed and she at something. And what she says is, like, is it because of that big dude? And when I was watching, I'm like, but John Henry said that he was left there so he could feel it. So didn't she do her job right?
Yeah.
I was like, what did she do wrong? Why does she deserve death? And then more silliness ensues when they hold like a gun to her head, and Ludacris says something like, "What are you gonna do?"
So what you gonna do?
Power goes off because John
Henry's coming.
John Henry has arrived, and so all the lights turn off. No one does anything, and all you can hear is Ludacris say, "What are you gonna do?" Not wondering why the power's off or anything, and then here comes John Henry with his hammer through the drywall, disappears, she runs out, he looks like he's about to kill her, but he doesn't, because he's a good man.
Trust me, I'm not a killer.
Oh, and how did I totally forget about the little kid?
Yeah, I was going to remind you of that.
Before all this shit goes down, John Henry's just walking down the block, I guess he doesn't drive, and this kid shows up, Dee
Kid.
Day. His name is Dee Day.
Dee to you, buddy.
And he runs into this kid, and this kid's like, wow, you're really big. And his response should have been like, yeah, okay, excuse me, I'm about to fucking kill a drug dealer. Yeah. But the kid, like, tells him everything about his life. He's like, wow, you're really big. I hope to be as big as you someday. You know, my uncle fought in the war once, and then met my aunt, and I'm like, what are we watching here?
Well, we find out later why that kid was there, but like that would have been a cool spot or like moment to find out more about John Henry himself, like why he has a hammer. You know, what, like maybe it was like explaining what he's about to do in some sort of cool metaphorical, I don't know, kid story sort of way, but like instead it was just, they just needed to establish that he met the kid so the kid could show up later during the fight.
Which they totally should have done a scene where he gives, like the scene from Hook, where Robert Williams gives
the only Hook reference in the world.
Good form.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And like he could have handed him the hammer and it was too big and he like falls back. It
Sure.
could have been a funny, great moment. How adorable.
Touching.
We cut to a worse scene after that where we just watch two gunmen in a car talk about the human centipede.
That was so bizarre.
What was that?
My
What was
guess,
that? I recognized one of them. I recognize his voice from Grand Theft Auto 5. And
Okay.
he plays one of the main character's friends.
Maybe you got rid of that old yee ass haircut you got, you get some bitches on your dick.
I swear the director just wanted to hear them improv. Because maybe those guys, I don't know, maybe they're stand-up comedians. I don't know.
I mean, their improv wasn't bad. It was just the fact that the scene didn't need to be there at all.
It lingered. And it was just really weird why that was happening.
So, finally, we get to the end. The epic showdown. Terry Crews has finally left the confines of his house that he had been staying in for the entire movie, and I was ready. I was like, man, we're gonna see some sledgehammer action. He's gonna plant that sledgehammer into someone's head and maybe even use it to I pictured him golf clubbing the jaw off of Ludacris's face.
Kind of like what was that Hulk Hogan movie where he had like a metal plate? Or no, it wasn't him. The villain had like a metal plate.
Is it a Suburban Commando?
Yeah, and then nothing was left but the metal plate.
Oh,
like the head
yeah.
Like having that.
Oh my head! The pressure! The pressure!
He should have bit his metal jaw off.
Well, he should have done something. So he shows up, and they're standing on the front lawn of just a regular neighborhood house in, I don't know, maybe East LA, any regular neighborhood house in LA. And some of the neighborhood is coming out to watch.
5 neighbors come out.
Yeah, 5 neighbors.
All the extras that they could afford.
Now, in reality, there would have been 3 helicopters swarming. Ludacris could have been just I'll pay the cops to stay away from this neighborhood. Now let's fight. Just something easy.
Now let's fight.
Yeah, let's fight with my golden jaw.
Well, yeah, that would be the scene where Terry Crews takes off his sleeves, and then Ludacris takes off his jaw.
Yeah, and the jaw has a blade in it, or he uses the jaw as a boomerang. That would have been so much better. So anyway, they have what proceeds
If I
to be...
clash my teeth, half of the population disappears. He should have had a gun that kind of matched his gold jaw.
Yeah, the man with the golden gun and jaw. Yeah,
that would have been the title.
Yeah,
The man with the golden gun and jaw.
There you go.
That's a Western title.
Well, it's actually a James Bond movie, The Man with the Golden Gun. Remember we were talking about James Bond earlier, and your lack of knowledge of James Bond.
Speaking of James Bond,
he's not in this movie.
Not only is he not in this, but didn't one of the James Bond villains have a missing jaw? He took his.
Well, from James Bond Jr. Jaws, he had for some reason, instead of having metal teeth, they made him have a mechanical jaw in the cartoon.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Oh, that's cool. So John Henry, when Ludacris is down, walks up to him and gives the final blow, and Ludacris's head explodes. And that's the end of Hell. He defeated Hell. But then, after that, he dies.
What?
He just dies.
What?
He falls over, and you see, which I assume is Tasha's hand.
Right.
Where is Tasha coming from? Tasha's just teleporting everywhere. She's just teleporting in different spots when she needs to be. She's the ultimate stalker. So, and that's the end of that, which I had this idea of, first of all, I think Ludacris's name should have just been called The Machine. If we're going full John Henry,
Yeah.
it should have been called The Machine. He has to defeat the Machine. He does. He ends up dying in the process.
Right, and in order to make him the Machine, he's got to have a mechanical body part.
Yeah.
If not a mechanical jaw, then a mechanical hand,
Right.
knee,
Yeah, something.
something.
give John Henry more of a reason to have a hammer other than his name being John Henry. I mean, what if his name was Wolverine? What would have happened then? He would have been walking around with claws.
Here's a pitch for you. What if his dad worked in a steel mill?
Right.
And he hammered stuff, and that's what, and that hammer, I don't know, maybe he missed and hit his knee or something, and that's what drove him to the chair. But he's like, no, I respect that hammer because I've been hammering with it for 40 years.
And that hammer paid the bills for your mama and you.
So now I'm passing it to you, John Henry.
If we're going to go full on craziness with this, it should have been John Henry facing the machine Ludacris on a moving train that has run out of track. It's about to hit an unfinished tunnel, and he's got to stop Ludacris, and all he has is his hammer. They could have pulled a green screen.
Yeah, they could have.
They could have done something.
There's a lot of stuff on Amazon Prime that uses the old green screen technique.
Man woke up superhuman.
Not anymore.
So that's John Henry. Check it out on Netflix. But I mean, would you recommend John Henry to people?
Oh man, it depends on what kind of movie you're looking to watch. I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
It was boring. If you want to start a movie and spend the middle looking at your phone and then end the movie awkwardly.
Yeah, again, I'm still kind of conflicted because I really enjoyed the first half, and it wasn't until the end that it just felt out of place, and it felt like they were trying to save time, or trying to fill up the movie more. And yeah, Ludacris was. I really thought he was going to play a bigger part in this movie, even though he was the main villain. You really only saw him 2 times. It seemed like the actor that they got to play him younger had more screen time than Ludacris did. So I'm curious of just how this movie got made in general.
Yeah.
Who's paying for it? Was this a Terry Crews out of pocket, Ludacris out of pocket production? I don't know. But if you are looking for a movie that you're just looking for some Terry Crews swinging a hammer at Terry Crews swinging a hammer, I guess.
Well, just make sure you fast forward to the end because he doesn't swing that hammer until
Yeah, and here's the thing, and I love Terry Crews. I think he's
a very likable guy.
He's a very likable guy. He's super genuine. He's very funny, and there's nothing to not like about him. So I wonder if I wonder if I wouldn't like this movie as much if it was someone else.
Some no name that you didn't know.
Yeah, I think I like a lot of this movie because of Terry Crews. So check it out, or don't. We're not gonna hammer it into you.
Oh, you really hit the nail on the head with that review.
So, did I get the job this time?
Well, the facts, my findings back to corporate, but we'll be in touch.
Oh, before you go, I mean, what about the jerky?
Sorry about that. While you were blathering on about John Henry, I kept picking at it, and now it's all gone. I don't want to leave you hanging. I've got some raw meat in my pocket. If you got a stove, we can fry it up. It'll be really good.
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, no, I don't. My stove's broken. That maintenance guy should have been here by now. Where the hell is he? Are you okay?
Curse you, veal jerky. You better get out of my way or else something bad is gonna happen here.
Is that a threat?
No, it's a prediction.
But you can use my bathroom. Huh. Where is that maintenance guy?
Oh!
Sam, is everything okay? Yes, so my stove,
Hey, fuck your stove, pal. I'm watching the security camera right now, and there's a guy dealing with something nasty at the bus stop. It looks like he ran from your unit, actually.
Oh, that's weird. No, it's just been me here, watching movies.
Oh, God almighty, it's awful! Oh, what is this world coming to?
Yeah, It's crazy out there. So, about my stove.
I can't even think about stoves right now.
What? Sure you can. I mean, come on. You just gotta... Hello? Guess it's microwaved egg again tonight. Oh, fuck!